The air in St. Anne's animal shelter smelled of antiseptic and faded hope. Rows of kennels stood silent under harsh fluorescent lights. In the far corner lay a solitary figure, an elderly German shepherd named Rex. At 17, his muzzle was grey as winter mist, ribs faintly outlined beneath a thinning coat, eyes half closed in a world he barely perceived. Once his name had been called in parks and living rooms. Now it was only murmured by staff who whispered, "He's not long for this world." Rex had been brought in weeks before, left by a kind old woman whose own health had failed. He'd known her gentle hands and soft words. Without them, he lay motionless, waiting. The shelter's volunteers passed by, offering scant pets and sorrowful glances. Rex barely stirred. Even food in his bowl went untouched, as though he'd lost the will to save a life. Across town, 6-year-old Lily Harper sat alone on her bed, clutching a threadbare teddy bear. The crash of metal echoed in her mind, the car accident that had taken her voice as surely as it had taken her mother's life. Since then, Lily had not spoken a word. Her brown eyes shuttered against the world. Each day blended into the next, her laughter buried beneath layers of fear. That morning, Lily's father, Michael, a kind but anxious man, carried her to the car without a word. Lily pressed her face against the window, gaze distant. They drove to St. Anne's, Lily's fourth appointment with the therapist's recommendation, meet a therapy dog. Michael opened the shelter's door and called Lily's name softly. She walked inside, shoes clacking on tile, each step heavy with dread. A hush settled over the aisle as Lily's fingertip met Rex's cold, worn nose, and in that single pulse of connection, something shifted. The other dog's chorus faded into a distant murmur. Rex lifted his frail head a little higher, whiskers trembling with surprise and hope. Michael stepped forward, voice gentle. "Would you like to take him out?" Lily nodded, scarcely believing her own courage. The shelter worker slid the latch and Rex rose, legs unsteady but intent. Lily reached for his leash, hands trembling as she clipped it on. Rex paused, then let Lily guide him forward, one careful step at a time. They crossed the kennel area into a small courtyard ringed by chain link and autumn's dying light. Leaves skittered across cracked pavement in a soft breeze. Lily sank to one knee, beckoning Rex with a shy smile. He approached, tail wagging so slowly it was almost imperceptible, but Lily saw it, and her own heart stirred when Rex nuzzled her. "Palm," she whispered. "It's okay." He tilted his head, pressing his side against her. Michael watched from the gate, tears glistening in the corner of his eyes. Back inside the manager's office, papers were drawn and signatures made. Lily sat at the small desk, Rex's leash in one hand, a crayon-drawn picture of the two of them taped to the wall beside her. Each line Lily traced in her father's name was a promise, to her dog, to herself, and to a shared future. As they exited into the cool evening air, Lily slipped her arm through Rex's collar, and Michael draped an arm over her shoulders. Rex's slow steps carried them down the shelter ramp and into the fading light. Behind them, the doors closed softly, and though the shelter's dogs continued their hopeful barking, Lily and Rex walked on in companionable silence, two hearts no longer alone. Home was a soft glow of porch light and the low hum of the front hall radiator. Michael eased the car into the drive and killed the engine, the wipers finishing their final sweep, as if clearing the world for this new beginning. Lily lifted Rex from the back seat, his paws splashing through puddles as she carried him to the door. He shook once, spraying droplets like a blessing over the welcome mat. Inside, the warmth of the wood stove chased away the chill. Michael set Rex's water bowl at the corner of the kitchen, then fetched a folded blanket from the hall closet, Lily's childhood quilt now repurposed as Rex's first bed. Lily knelt and guided him onto it, smoothing the fabric around his flanks. Rex settled immediately, his head dropping so Lily could sweep a kiss across his damp muzzle. Michael switched on the kettle, its soft whistle joining the patter of rain against the windows. Lily hovered, hands still resting on Rex's fur, eyes bright with that half-wounded, half-hopeful smile Michael knew so well. "He's home," she breathed, voice steady for the first time in weeks. Michael wrapped an arm around her shoulders from behind, tucking her close. He agreed, voice thick with relief. Together they watched the storm's gentle downpour. Two silhouettes framed by the window pane, father and daughter, bound by shared heartbeats and a dog whose courage had carried them all the way home. By the soft glow of her bedside lamp, Lily and Rex made the room feel alive for the first time. Rex lay curled against the wall, his paw print tracing a careless spiral of green on the paper. Lily leaned over, adding a few strokes of yellow to the sun in the corner, then paused to brush a strand of hair from Rex's gentle eyes. When she finished, she held up the page. A bright meadow, a rabbit perched beside the outline of a great, loyal dog. Lily tucked the picture beside her bed, where her bookshelf once stood empty. She slid into bed on her stomach, head resting on Rex's warm flank. He thumped his tail once, slow, reassuring, then let his muzzle settle beneath her cheek. In the hush of the night, father and daughter watched from the doorway as Lily's even breathing matched the dog's steady rhythm. Morning found a new sparkle in the room. Lily hopped out of bed and pressed the drawing to her forehead, then affixed it to the wall above her desk with a bit of tape. Rex padded across her favorite pink rug and lay down beneath her window, where the early light caught in his golden fur. Lily smiled, gathering crayons and paper again. As she began her next picture, this time of Lily and Rex side by side, Michael slipped in quietly and murmured, "That's full, sweetheart." Lily didn't look up. She simply traced Rex's outline once more. In that gentle repetition, the room was no longer paused in sorrow but humming with possibility. And as the sketches multiplied along the walls, so did the promise that Lily's voice and her world would color themselves whole again. One golden dawn, Lily padded down the hall with her usual quiet grace, Rex's leash clutched in her small hand. She guided him to the hearth where picture books lay in a neat stack. Today she didn't merely whisper the story, she spoke in full, clear syllables. "Rex is my friend," she read, lips curving into a proud smile. Rex lifted his head, eyes bright as lanterns, and licked her palm in affectionate approval. Encouraged, Lily reached for the next sentence. "We run, free." Each word came slower but surer, until she laughed, the sound rippling through the room. When Michael stepped into the doorway, mug in hand, he froze at the miracle before him. His daughter's voice confident and clear, carrying on the morning air. He let out a breath he hadn't known he'd been holding and sank to one knee beside them. "That was amazing," he whispered, eyes glistening. Lily closed her book and tucked it under her arm. Turning to her father, she said, "Good, Dad," earning a delighted chuckle from Michael. He swept her into a gentle hug as Rex pressed between them, tail beating a joyful tattoo on the floor. Later, as Lily bounded to the door at the end of the school day, Rex at her heels, neighbors paused to wave at the reunited pair. Michael watched from the porch, pride blooming like spring flowers in his chest. His silent girl had found her voice again, and it rang with the promise that love, nurtured day by patient day, could break even the deepest quiet. The park was a tapestry of autumn hues, leaves crackling under Lily's footsteps as she skipped ahead of Rex, whose silver-tipped muzzle bobbed in time with her laughter. A crisp wind wove through the gold and crimson branches overhead, sending a swirling dance of foliage across the path. Near the swing set, a large stray appeared, a lean, wary dog whose hackles were raised and lips curled back in a flash of white teeth. He let out a low snarl as Lily rounded the corner, her small frame frozen in mid-step, pale fear flickering across her face. In an instant, Rex, his gait slowed by arthritic hips and a sagging frame, found a surge of strength. He planted himself, squarely between Lily and the intruder, stance wide and unyielding. From his throat came a deep, unwavering growl, each rumble a declaration, "Stand back." The stray paused, uncertainty flickering in his dark eyes as he reeled from the unexpected fierceness of the older shepherd. Rex held his ground, growl upon growl rolling like distant thunder, until at last the stranger slunk away into the rustling leaves. Only when the danger had fully vanished did Rex relax, his tail sweeping the ground in a joyful wag. Lily's hand flew to her mouth, tears of pride welling in her eyes rather than fear's tremor. She knelt and threw her arms around Rex's neck, burying her face against his warm fur. "Brave boy," she whispered, voice thick with gratitude. Rex nuzzled her cheek, offering his quiet courage in return. Together they stood, bathed in the late afternoon sun, two steadfast hearts bound by love, and the unspoken promise that no shadow, no matter how threatening, could ever come between them. Dawn's pale light crept across Lily's face, and she stirred to an all-too-quiet room. The gentle rise and fall she'd learned to feel every night was gone. Heart pounding, she sat up and reached out only to find the space beside her empty. Tears filled her eyes, but when she looked down she saw the soft clay slab on her nightstand. Rex's tiny paw print pressed forever into its surface. She lifted the fragile keepsake into her hands, tracing each ridge of his pads with a trembling fingertip. In that silent morning hush, Lily felt the echo of his warmth and the steady rhythm of his loyal heart. She pressed the clay to her cheek and whispered, "Thank you for staying." Gently, she set the memorial on the windowsill where the first snow-flecked rays of sun would catch its edges. Outside, the world glistened with frost, every branch, every blade of grass touched by the memory of his love. And though her room was empty of paws, Lily knew that wherever she went, the print of Rex's devotion would follow, guiding her with the quiet courage he had taught her. Winter's breath crept into the cabin before dawn, sketching silver filigree on the window panes and chilling the air with its hush. Rex lay curled on the wool rug beside Lily's bed, each labored breath a whispered struggle against the coming cold. Lily refused to leave his side, her arm draped over his flank as she drifted in and out of sleep, alert to every soft sigh he gave. When Lily woke, pale light filtered through the frosted glass, and she found Rex's gentle head resting in her lap. His eyes were half closed, as if he hovered on the edge of a dream neither sorrow nor snow could shatter. She cradled his muzzle in trembling hands, brushing back the fur that had warmed her through so many winters, tears slipping free in silent testimony to years of companionship. Outside, the first pure flakes of snow drifted down, carpeting the world in hushed white. With one last exhale, a breath that seemed to carry a lifetime of memories, Rex stilled against Lily's side. She sobbed into his soft coat, cheek pressed to his flank as the snow began to fall in gentle witness. Michael entered quietly, grief settling around him like drifts against the door. He knelt beside Lily and drew her close, his own tears melting on her hair. There in the hush of morning and the soft patter of snow on the roof, father and daughter held their beloved friend, honoring the final gift he had given, the promise that love outlasts even the deepest cold. Spring sunlight warmed the slate-roofed facade of St. Anne's shelter as Lily and Michael approached, fingers entwined like two anchors ready to set sail. The air smelled of fresh hay and pine shavings, broken only by the happy chorus of barking dogs echoing through the kennels. Rows of eager faces pressed against the chain-link gates' tails, thumping hope onto the concrete floors until Lily stopped, before a subdued shepherd mix whose golden brown eyes held a quiet sorrow. She knelt in the dusty aisle, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Hello there," she whispered, voice soft as a prayer. The dog's head lifted slowly, his tail trembled once, twice, then began a gentle wag. In that moment, Lily saw in his gaze the same unspoken question she had carried since Rex's last breath. Would anyone come back for me? Tears glistened on Lily's cheeks as she rose and met Michael's steady eyes. "Dad," she said, voice thick with emotion, "I know him. He needs me." Michael offered a proud smile and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Together, they followed the shelter worker to a quiet office where adoption paperwork waited, like a promise. Pen in hand, Lily signed her name with determined grace while Michael completed the final line. Outside the window, the shepherd mix pressed his muzzle against the glass, as if sensing the moment. When the worker opened the kennel latch, Lily stepped forward, heart pounding, and knelt once more to envelop him in a gentle hug. His paws came up around her waist, tentative at first, then firmer, two souls finding home in each other. As they walked back through the shelter's open doors, Lily leading her new companion Michael at her side, the morning light seemed to brighten, celebrating a faith kept and a heart remade. In Lily's shining eyes lay the unbreakable truth: no one is ever lost when someone refuses to leave their side.